How do you score a great deal on the guitar of your dreams? In this first episode of 2024, we're going to find you a smoking deal on a great guitar. We'll look at the current prices and figure out what's a good deal, what's reasonable, and what's a ripoff. And Baxter and Jonathan over at Casino Guitars just dropped a video about the used guitar market crashing, so this might be a good time for you to get a great deal. I'm Thom Tran, and this is the story behind the strings. Now, before we get going, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to be notified when I drop a new episode. And tell a friend, because if I get to 5,000 subscribers before my birthday episode in February, I'll be giving away a guitar. Details on that later in this episode. Now, whether you're buying or selling music gear, there is one universal truth. An instrument is only worth what someone is willing to pay for it. But what do musicians love more than a tasty riff and a sexy redhead? A deal, of course. Everyone loves telling their friends, I got this piece of gear for a steal. No one wants to hear that they paid too much for something. And one of the reasons I started this show was to help people not get ripped off buying used or rare guitars. And if possible, get a great deal on one. As a buyer, you have the power to decide what you're going to pay for something because no one's making you spend that money. Whether you're responsible about it is another story. Now let's start with a basic law of economics. How do you determine something's true value? Supply and demand. How many of a thing is available and how many people want it?
Shut up and take my money!
Then you have to decide what you're willing to pay for it. But what would you call a deal? Well, personally, if I can get an instrument for less than what it cost when it was first released, well, that's a deal, or even a steal in some cases. Fair market is getting an instrument for about what it cost when it originally came out, plus minus a few bucks. And getting ripped off is just paying obscene amounts more than what the fair market is currently asking for. So we're going to look at three specific guitars, two that you've asked for episodes about in the comments, the Series 1 American-made Richie Sambora Signature Stratocaster and the Mexican-made Richie Sambora Standard Strat. And if my channel analytics tell me anything, it's that y'all love the Ernie Music Man Eddie Van Halen Signature Guitar. So we'll start there. We'll take a look at what people are asking for them and what they're selling for. And full disclosure, I'm recording this on Saturday, December 30th, 2023, right before New Year's because production and editing take some time and I have like 4 jobs, so just keep that in mind when it comes to the items that we're going to be looking at online. I've already opened several tabs with Reverb, eBay, and a generic Google search, and sometimes I can find a deal on Craigslist. So let's go through each of those to see what we can shop for. Now, before anybody asks, why don't you look at Guitar Center or Sam Ash or anything else? The idea is to find a deal. Personally, I have never found a deal at any of those big box music stores. If you have, and I'm wrong, please let me know. Please let me know what you got and what kind of deal you got it for, because I've never personally gotten what I would call a deal on anything at any of those music stores. So we'll start with how much I decide I'm willing to pay for a piece of gear. Now this is just me, you're gonna have to come up with your own criteria. But first, I like to do some research. What was the original price? How many are available now? What are they currently selling for? Is this gonna be a player or collectible? Am I willing to pay more for a collector piece than a player? And what's the resale value? We'll start with the guitar I featured last episode, the Ernie Music Man Eddie Van Halen Signature Guitar. Now, I'm not looking to buy one, but maybe you are, so let's find you a good deal. Let's start with how many were made. Reports say that between 1991 and 1995, about 6,000 to 7,000 total were made, depending on the color. Some colors were as few as a couple of dozen made, making them far more rare, therefore making them far more expensive. But let's look at the most popular model, the translucent gold. According to reports, between 1,200 and 1,400 were made. They retailed in the early to mid-1990s for between $1,600 and $2,000. So with inflation, you're looking at between $3,000 and $4,000 in 2023 money. So keep that in mind. And as we talked about in the last episode, they're currently selling for between $3,000 and $7,000. So even though that sounds like a lot, given inflation, that's about fair market value. Now, I remember stopping at the EVH booth at NAMM a few years ago, and I got to hold one of Ed's actual Wolfgangs. The guy at the booth told me, Ed says guitars are meant to be played. So let's assume you're buying one to play regularly. You're not looking for a case queen. All right, let's take a look at Reverb. I've already brought the page up. Now, of course, with the Eddie Van Halen models, you're going to get the Axis models, which is the first thing we see here, and then the Axis EX models you're probably going to see as well, but we're going to skip those. We want an Eddie Van Halen signature model, right? So the first one we see, Sunburst, translucent quilt. Not what we're looking for. We want the translucent gold one, the first one we see. $6,500. Maybe color doesn't matter to you. We've got the Sunburst for $6,000. We've got a black quilt for another $6,000. We've got a red one for $6,000. We've got a purple one with a hardtail for $64.99. Now, the hardtails are pretty rare, so we'll save that one for another episode, but maybe you're down for a hardtail. We've got an Eddie Van Halen Signature for $7,000, another one for $7,500, $76,000, nearly $8,000, and this one's $8,000. So I don't see any deals on Reverb right now. They're all about fair market value. Now, we're gonna look at eBay, and I'll tell you what, if the first thing you see is an Eddie Van Halen Signature model, which it says right here, Custom Music Man EVH, this says $375. You know that's not real, right? You know that's fake. You know that's a knockoff. You know that's a Chibson. And I mentioned these, I think this exact photo in the last episode. And then we've got a 92 Ernie Ball Music Man for $6,000. 62, 64, 66. So far, no deals on any of the EVHs on either eBay or Reverb. So let's take a look at Google, just a basic Google search. $7,000 for an Eddie Van Halen Music Man, 56 for one. There's a Chibson. Yeah, I'm not seeing any deals for an Eddie Van Halen model right now. This is, okay, now remember we talked about good deals, fair market, and then just rip-offs. Here is a Music Man EVH Van Halen model, natural quilt, 95. This is one of the more sought-after colors. I've heard several people say that they were interested in a natural colored EVH, and they're asking $26,000 for it. $1,000. That is what I would consider a rip-off, unless it was owned and personally used by Edward. I wouldn't even consider this. I mean, $26,000. Let's see why this guy wants $26,000 for this. Very good condition, almost new, mint condition, as if you travel back in time in 1995. Almost no fret wear, no detuna. The valuable model is produced for, yeah, we know it's valuable, but $26,000? Like, there's no reason you should pay $26,000 for this. It doesn't say it was owned by Ed, it wasn't owned by anybody famous, it wasn't played by Ed. This just looks like a stock model that this guy decided he wants to list for $26,000. So that's one of those rip-offs that you want to avoid. No deals on Ernie Ball Music Man, Eddie Van Halen guitars right now, at least not that I can see. Now let's take a look for a Sambora model. We'll take a look at the prices for the American-made and the Mexican-made models at the same time, because there's no getting around getting the same results from the internet. Now, I've had a few people ask me to do an episode about the Cherry Burst Series 1, and I'm looking for either a red or blue Mexican-made Sambora Strat. I've already opened a few tabs, just like with the Eddie Van Halen guitar, so let's check those out. Now, there are no hard numbers on how many were made, but the Cherry Burst was the most recognizable guitar since Richie played it a lot live, and it was used in a lot of ads, and it's a fan favorite. In 1996, those signature Strats listed for $1,899. So let's say with tax and all that jazz, $2,000 in 1996. And in 2023 money, with inflation, that's about $3,800. And the 1996 Fender price catalog listed the Sambora Standard Strat, which is what the Mexican-made Sambora was called, for $599. So with inflation, that's about $1,158 in 2023 money. So with that said, anything under that, I would call a deal. So let's take a look at what we've got online. All right, so we start with Reverb, just like we did before. We've got a Richie Sambora Standard Stratocaster, the Mexican-made model, for $679. So remember, like I said, in 1996, the Mexican-made Samboras were listing for $599. So in 2023 money, that's about $1,100. For $600, that's a great deal. That's a steal, actually. There's a blue Sambora Strat for $699, also a good deal. Another red one for $700, also a good deal. A Richie Sambora Signature Strat for $859. Here are a couple of Sambora Mexican-made Strats listing for $1,000, $1,200 for this one. That's about fair market value. That's what they cost today in 1996 money. Here's a black one for $1,400. Unless there's a reason you really want a black one, that's a bit of a ripoff. This seller wants $1,400 for it, and it's got an aftermarket pickup. So the 96 Sambora Strat came with a DiMarzio PAF Pro. This one looks stock so far, but it's $1,500. So what? You know, a couple of deals for the Mexican-made models. Let's stick with the Mexican-made models. Let's go over towards eBay and see what's over here. Now this is crazy. A Mexican-made Sambora Strat from Japan, $1,900. That is what would be considered a ripoff. Right below it, $2,500. Probably the same guitar, just two different sellers asking for two different prices. And that's way over fair market value. And this one, also from Japan, $2,100. Here's one for $1,100, about fair market. Here's a Mexican-made Sambora Strat for $1,600. That's a ripoff. $1,900. That's a ripoff. So it looks like you got a good mix of like finding a deal or getting absolutely hosed on a Mexican-made Sambora Strat. And let's check out Google once again. Let's look for a Mexican-made Sambora Strat. Here's a Mexican-made Sambora Strat from Guitar Center for about $1,000, $1,100. That's, you know, fair market value, I guess. I think we already saw this one on Reverb for, you know, under $700. This is interesting. A Fender Richie Sambora solid Strat, $600 at Guitar Center. Let's take a look at this and see what we come up with. So I can already tell you that this is not stock because the Sambora Strat models did not come with black pick cards. They came with white pick cards. So that's already been changed. Is it an actual Sambora Strat? Let's take a look. Yeah, Richie's signature's on the headstock. Let's take a look here. What is this? What is this? Ah! Seymour Duncan's. So, oh wow. Yeah, there was a lot of alterations done to this. No wonder it was $600. So it looks like this may have been a Sambora neck stuck on a Strat body, or maybe they even kept the Sambora Strat body, but they stuck Seymour Duncan's in there instead of the DiMarzio and the Fender special pickups. So if you really want a Sambora Strat, that's not going to be it, even though it's a deal, I guess. Let's see, any other deals in here? $1,100, $849 from Sam Ash. So that's a deal. Technically, I mean, it's less than what it costs when it came out. But again, right next to it, you've got a blue Sambora for $700. And here's a red Richie Sambora Strat. It says it's listed at as Arctic White, but that's clearly red. I don't have color blindness. Pretty sure that's red. But it's listing for, you know, $679. There you go. With the Mexican-made Strats, if you're looking for a good deal, there are a couple on eBay and Reverb right now. No, not eBay. Reverb. There are some good deals on Reverb. eBay, not so much. So let's take a look at the American-made Sambora Strats. Let's start with Reverb. Now this is a Japanese Sambora Strat, $3,600. I can tell it's a Japanese Sambora Strat because first of all, it says Japanese Sambora Strat. But first thing I'd look for is the 12 decibel MDX boost button down here between the tone switches, and there is not one, which is a telltale sign that this is either a Japanese-made Sambora model. There's another Sambora Strat. Is this an American-made? It is an American-made. Again, how can I tell right away? Well, there's the 12 decibel MDX boost button between the tone knobs. So immediately I can tell that's an American-made Sambora Strat. And they're asking nearly $6,000 for it. I mean, with tax and shipping, it's going to be $6,000. It's also coming from Italy. Here's another Sambora American-made Strat, 96 from the Netherlands. They want $7,000. I think that's too much. Another $7,000 for, I think that's an American-made. I think I see the MDX boost button right off the bat. Yeah, this is an American-made model, but for $7,500, you got to be real careful. This is one of those cases that, like, if I was considering this, I would get the, well, there's a serial number. You know what? Let's try something. Let's go and check out the Fender serial number database. And let's look this up, just for giggles. This is one of the things that I would do if I was considering buying this. SE927332. Plug it into the Fender serial number database. No, I'm not a robot. And it comes up, it shows up. This is an actual Richie Sambora Signature Strat. And it gives us all the spec details. So, original MSRP, $1,899, nearly $2,000, like we said. Today's money, you're looking at about $4,000. This is a real American-made Richie Sambora Signature Strat. Would I pay $7,000 for it? No, I wouldn't. That is well over fair market value, I feel. Maybe I'm wrong, you know? Maybe you're all about spending $7,500 on this guitar, but I like a deal. I love a deal. I want a deal when I buy an instrument. This one, that's a Series 2. How do I know it's a Series 2 right away? Because this does not have a Floyd Rose trem on it, as we talked about in the episode about my Series 2 Sambora Strat right off the bat. There's definitely some alterations done on this. So it's got the MDX boost, so it's an American-made Strat, but it's got a black pick guard, which these did not have, so that's been changed. And it's got the hardtail tremolo. So it's a Series 2, not what we're looking for, but maybe you're looking for it. For $8,000 though. And finally, nearly $9,000 this person's asking for this American-made Series 1 Sambora. I want a deal, you guys. I want a deal. And $8,900 is not a deal. That's a ripoff. Again, fair market for these would be, I would say, $4,000 to $5,000. Fair market, right now. But like we talked about, supply and demand. How many of them are available? And how much are you willing to pay? So that's what we're looking at for the Fender Sambora American and Mexican-made Stratocasters. So that's how I look for guitars. And then I do that. That's literally what I do when I'm searching for guitars. So any of the guitars in my collection, that's what I did. Anything that I bought, I figured out what it cost, how many are available, what's a fair price for it now, and if I can get it for a deal. That's my thing. I love getting a deal on gear, man. So that's what I do. If you do something else, let me know. What is your process for buying a guitar? What is your process for finding a deal on an instrument? Like, tell me in the comments. Like, I would love to know how other people shop for gear. I've been doing this for, since I started collecting, back when I finally decided that I wasn't going to have kids and that my cats don't need to go to college. So that's how I find deals on instruments. And if that helps you, find a good deal, man, I hope it does. I hope you find some great gear in 2024. I hope somebody buys one of the guitars that we found today. I hope a Richie Sambora fan goes on and goes, man, that's a great deal. I can buy that right now. I hope that happens. And if that happens, if that's you, man, tell me about that. I would love to hear that. Because quite frankly, I might be buying one of these Sambora Strats, one of the Mexican-made ones. I am not going to buy one of those Series 1 Sambora Strats. Not for the prices they're going for now. I mean, that'll change. The value will change later. But for me, like, I don't want a Series 1 right now because I've got the black paisley with the Floyd, and I've got the Series 2 with the hardtail, and I prefer the hardtail. The only reason I would get a Mexican-made Strat is to do an episode on it. That's literally the only reason I would get it. I would probably turn right back around and sell it, to be quite honest with you. So I hope this helped. There it is. That's the first episode of 2024. That's what I do to find a good deal on guitars. Sometimes I can't find one, like with the American-made Sambora Strat, but that's the fun part of looking, right? Sometimes you find a gem that you weren't looking for. I hope this helps you find a good deal, and hopefully it keeps you from getting ripped off. That's the most important part. Now, if you stuck around this long, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be giving away a guitar for my birthday episode next month, if I get to 5,000 subscribers by my birthday episode that drops on February 20th. If that happens, I'll be giving away one of my guitars. This isn't sponsored by anybody. I bought the guitar myself. I'll actually be featuring the guitar on an episode, then I'll be giving it away. More details as the weeks follow in upcoming episodes, but here's what you need to know. If I can get 5,000 or more subscribers for my birthday episode, before my birthday episode, on February 20th, 2024, I'll be giving away a guitar. Until then, please like, subscribe, share this episode with your friends, hit the bell icon to be notified when I drop a new episode, and if you want to help support the show, you can go to patreon.com and you can become a roadie, a tech, or hired gun. You can get some cool swag and help me pick an instrument that I'm going to go behind the strings of. My custom t-shirts, like this Story Behind the String shirt, is available at my TeePublic store at ThomTranShop.com. My stand-up comedy dates are available on my website at ThomTran.com. Thanks again. Happy New Year. I hope you liked this episode. That was fun. We might do this again if, if I'm looking for another guitar, or if there's a guitar you want me to search for and you want to know if there's a deal on one. Let me know. Let me know in the comments. I would love to help you find a great deal on a guitar. So that would be so cool. Maybe that's a new segment, that would be totally cool. Let me know in the comments below. Happy New Year, and let the strings tell your story.